If you are feeling alone and discouraged, let this story be the inspiration you need. It is a tale of perseverance, hardship, and the unwavering strength of the human spirit. Stay with us until the end, you won't regret it. In a small village, there lived a humble man named Raju. Born into poverty, he and his wife struggled to make ends meet. Raju worked as a laborer, taking on any job he could find to provide for their modest household. Despite their hardships, their love for each other kept them strong. Their joy multiplied when Raju's wife became pregnant. The thought of a child brought hope into their lives, filling their small home with dreams of a brighter future. However, fate had other plans. The day arrived when Raju's wife went into labor. Filled with anticipation, he took her to the hospital, but he soon realized that he needed to arrange money for the medical expenses. Leaving his wife in the care of the hospital staff, he set out to gather funds. But tragedy struck. Raju was caught in a terrible accident and lost his life on the spot. As the villagers cremated his body, his wife was giving birth to their son, unaware of the devastating loss she had just suffered. When the news of Raju's death reached her, her world shattered. She held her newborn baby, weeping inconsolably. "Why did you take my husband away from me, God? How will I raise this child alone?" she cried. Some villagers tried to comfort her, reminding her that life and death are beyond human control. They urged her to focus on the child, for he was now her reason to keep going. Summoning all her inner strength, the woman resolved to fight for her son's future. She took up work as a cleaner, scrubbing floors and washing clothes in other people's homes. Every penny she earned went toward her child's survival. Though life was merciless, she never let despair consume her. Years passed, and when her son turned 5, she enrolled him in the village's government school. She dreamt of giving him an education, ensuring that he would never have to beg or struggle as she had. Understanding his mother's sacrifices, the boy studied diligently, determined to make her proud. But hardship struck once again. As the boy turned 14, his mother's health deteriorated. Initially, she dismissed it as minor fatigue, but soon, she became too weak to work. With no money for medical treatment, her condition worsened. Seeing his mother suffer, the boy was overcome with worry. "Mother, don't worry. I will find a way to bring you medicine," he promised. Tears welled in her eyes as she held his hand. "Son, my time has come. I wish to join your father now. But before I go, promise me one thing. Always live with dignity. Never beg from anyone. Work hard, and never lose your self-respect." The boy nodded, vowing to honor her words. By the time he returned with medicine, it was too late. His mother had passed away. Alone in the world, he arranged her final rites with the help of the villagers. With no family, no home, and no support, he stood at a crossroads. But he remembered his mother's words and resolved to never give up. To survive, he worked odd jobs, plowing fields, washing dishes at a tea shop, and carrying heavy loads for traders. With the little he earned, he managed to stay in school. He worked by day and studied by night, determined to carve a better future for himself. As he grew older, he realized that his small village could no longer offer the education he needed. He took a bold step, moving to the city to pursue higher studies. But city life was even harsher. Finding work was difficult, and there were nights he went to bed hungry. One evening, after a long day of searching for work in vain, he returned to his tiny rented room, exhausted and starving. He considered begging for food but stopped himself. He remembered his mother's words, "Never beg, always earn." The struggle was unbearable, but he refused to compromise his dignity. The next day, his hunger grew unbearable. He finally knocked on the door of a large house and, swallowing his pride, asked the woman inside for a glass of water. The woman, a kind soul, saw the desperation in his eyes. Instead of just water, she gave him a glass of milk and a plate of food. Overwhelmed by her kindness, he asked, "Ma'am, how can I ever repay you?" She smiled warmly and replied, "Son, I helped you not because I expect anything in return, but if you truly wish to repay me, promise this. When you are able, help someone else in need, just as I have helped you." He promised, and that promise became his guiding principle in life. Years passed, and the boy, now a young man, continued working hard. He juggled laborious jobs with his studies and eventually earned a scholarship. With relentless perseverance, he completed his education and secured a stable job. From a struggling boy who once had nothing, he had transformed into a man with purpose and success. One day, as he walked through the city, he noticed a frail, hungry child standing on the roadside. The sight reminded him of his own past. Without hesitation, he approached the boy and asked, "Are you hungry?" The child hesitated before nodding. The young man took him to a restaurant and bought him a meal. As they ate, he learned that the boy had no parents and lived on the streets, just as he once had. Remembering the kindness he had once received, he told the child, "I will help you, just as someone once helped me." Over time, he ensured the boy found shelter and education. But he didn't stop there. With his growing success, he established a foundation dedicated to helping children from poor backgrounds, providing them with education, food, and medical care. Years later, at the opening ceremony of a new school built by his foundation, he looked at the young faces before him, children who, like him, once had no hope. He smiled, knowing that through his struggles, he had created a legacy of kindness and resilience. This story teaches us that hardship is never the end. It is merely the beginning of something greater. Through perseverance, dignity, and kindness, even the most impossible challenges can be overcome. The kindness we receive in times of need is not to be repaid but to be passed forward, ensuring that the cycle of hope